It was largely pandemic sparked. My partner Alan and Jared were brewing at home for 20-ish years, and pandemic started. There wasn't a whole lot to do, so we started brewing every weekend. I used to work with Alan at my previous job, and he introduced me to home brewing after he had been doing it for 20-ish years. And then, we just had an idea. I knew Alan was making good beer. It was fun. Always wanted to own a business, and these guys were definitely on board. So just started doing the legwork and the research required. The next thing we know, we were looking for space and found a great space, and now here we are. A little bit outside Pittsburgh. So for a small new brewery to have the space that we have is a little different. We've got an air-to-AC tap room. We do focus on live music 3 or 4 days a week. That was something that we definitely devoted ourselves to early on, is to pay local musicians a fair rate to play here, and we do get a lot of attraction for that. We also get a ton of interest from local musicians. Our variety of craft beer too is a little bit better than some places. We always have 14 beers on tap of our own, usually about 11 to 12 different styles of beer. That being said, there are a ton of awesome craft breweries in Pittsburgh that are definitely making really good beer. So it's definitely a competition a little bit, in the sense of, making sure that we are putting a good product out there. The craft brewing industry in Pittsburgh is really awesome. I'm sure if you're into craft beer, you've heard about the camaraderie and the good relationships that craft breweries have with each other. And it's really an awesome thing. I'm very happy and proud to be a part of that in the industry here in Pittsburgh. I think anybody in the industry knows that most of the time a hazy is going to sell quickest. That being said, our monthly, pretty regularly, our top sellers are our American Light Lager. It's just we call it practice beer. It's a good warm up. It's a 4.2% easy drinking light lager. So we do a lot of birthday parties and just different family parties in the back of our space. We've got a pretty big space here, and a lot of times those people that are coming in are not familiar that much with craft beer, so it's a super approach, and we drink beer that hopefully creates some conversation around craft beer in that group that's not really familiar with it, and maybe they get into it. It's fun, especially when the weather's nice. We've got 2 15-foot wide and kind of half-foot tall overhead doors here. When the weather's nice, we open them. We don't have outdoor space, but it makes it definitely feel like you're outside. Like I said, ton of live music. We do that regularly 3 or 4 days a week. We do an open mic night once a month. We do a trivia night once a month that usually has a really big crowd. We're family friendly. We're dog friendly. It's just a fun environment. There's been times where families come in and hang out for 5 or 6 hours. We've got games here for kids to play and adults to play it too. It's a fun time. It's a good spot to hang out. Alan's our head brewer, one of my partners. He does all the recipe building, he does all the development, and then 2 great assistant brewers, Jim and Leah Rose, are always involved in the brew days. We do talk amongst ourselves and amongst our staff about what to brew, when to brew it, depending on what time of year it is. Alan will usually send out a text, hey, between these 3 or 4 beers, what do you guys think? And we'll decide from there. So, right now we just released our Hefeweizen in our tanks. Right now we have another hazy that's about ready. Got 2 new sours coming out soon too, so keep a good mix going. Further expansion of our business as far as other locations. With our license, we can have 2 other satellite storage facilities that we do plan to use, but that's further down the road. We want to perfect what we have here, and we're still gaining traction here on a monthly basis. Our new customers are still in the 40 to 45% range. So, people are still finding out about us every day. Almost somebody from within 15 minutes, 20 minutes driving comes in for the first time, and they're usually repeat customers, fortunately. We have a community tap initiative that we choose a beer monthly, and $1 for each pour of that beer for that must go to that nonprofit. We also open our space for that group to hold an event here, whether it's just a marketing or networking event or something more in-depth, detailed. Ivor Steer, which is a local nonprofit theater here on the other side of Ambridge. They were our February nonprofit, and they have held a enhanced stage reading it. So all the groups for the performance that they were doing, all their bandwidths and friends came out on Wednesday night. It was a great turnout, and so those are the kind of things you like to do. One of the early beers that we made was a super clear, crisp wheat ale that we positioned with Merchant Coffee Company coffee. It was crystal clear, straw colored. When someone orders it, you had to, and they tell you it's a raw beer, to admit it's going to be a darker beer, but it's not. It's got a really, really great coffee aroma and taste that you're not expecting when you drink that beer. We haven't done that in 7 or 8 months, but that is on the schedule coming up. But that's the most requested beer that people want us to bring back. So then that's...
We're a brewer during the next couple weeks.
And then, probably within a month or so, it'll be out. Ambridge. It's a music and art festival that we do. Last year was our first year. We closed down part of Merchant Street. We utilized the parking lot attached to our building here. We had 12 hours of continuous live music, two big stages. Had four or five twin trucks out here, 4 other breweries with us. 20-ish art vendors, and we had a really, really good turnout. We estimate we had between 4,000 and 5,000 people throughout the day in here in Ambridge, which was incredible. It's really exciting to see. So we're currently in the knee-deep in 2023 Ambridge planning, which we will be announcing that lineup soon and what people can expect. So we're really excited for that. Currently seeking sponsorship opportunities from local businesses to help, pay for that. Yeah, we're excited. That's one of the biggest events.
So I got into music basically my childhood. I started getting into writing raps and stuff like that. Big inspiration for me growing up was Eminem. And I'm 24, so the first beginning of Eminem, the Marshall Mathers LP, Slim Shady LP, all that stuff, I would hear that growing up, but I wasn't really old enough to really understand it. I would hear it, but for me, it was actually the Marshall Mathers LP 2. And it was very much him talking about his childhood and his upbringing and the tough stuff that came with that. And I really related to it. And I started being like, oh, this is a good way for me to vent and get stuff off my chest that was bothering me growing up. So hearing that, and just started scribbling raps down and kept doing it. And I would record little things on my phone of me rapping, never really showed anybody. Yeah, that's why I started making the music. But my dad was in bands and was a rock star growing up. I didn't have a dining room in my house. He turned my dining room into a studio. He was always recording stuff with his band and could shred on a guitar. I was always around it growing up, but I started getting into it when I was 12 or 13, just rapping. And I did that for a while through school. I was always doing it. I was always rapping or doing something else, but I wasn't putting any music out. I wasn't even really telling anybody that I was doing it until a little bit towards the end of high school. I started getting a little bit more serious about it and started actually looking into recording my own songs and how I could get started doing that. But that's basically where I started with it. So I would classify my music today as pop. That's how I put it out on everything. But I started rapping and I was doing hip hop. But once I started singing more, I kind of moved into pop because it's not rap, but it's like the in-between thing. I'm singing and rapping a little bit, and it's pop music. Like literally the last song I listened to, it's a song called Still Counting by Volbeat. It's funny because I've actually been listening to a lot of more hard rock. Like I've been on a rock kick lately. And that song it just goes super hard. I mean, I don't know. I'm seeing them live in a couple months. And my friend put me onto their music, and yeah, it's just I'm very like I a wide genre of like music that I love. You know, I'm always listening to different stuff now. Well, that's the reason I think I have garnered just a little bit of success in music, because that's always been my strong point. My music is all very personal, and it's very much from my heart. If I'm writing something, I typically don't write for fun or just to do it. There's usually a reason behind what I'm writing about, and I think people can really sense when something's real and when something's not. You know, they can see through the fakeness of people whenever they're just trying to make a hit song or something. I've never been like that, and I think that's what connects me and my fans the most. It's just that they know that what I'm saying is genuine. So I would say it's not really boxing influencing my music. It's more music influencing my boxing, because they couldn't be more different. A lot of people would like to make the comparison of a boxer and a musician going out to do a show, but boxing and music have always been two separate entities to me in terms of how I'm preparing to do it and what goes into it mentally. I did a boxing match last year, and I was really hesitant to even do it because I knew that if I committed to boxing, that it would take away from my music a lot. I can't really get into the headspace to write a song whenever I'm training to fight somebody. It's always been two different things. I can't say it influences it, but it certainly helps to do it. My tattoos, they don't really have any super deep meaning, to be honest with you. You know, they all have a tiny meaning, like the Grim Reaper, Don't Fear the Reaper, that song by the Blue Oyster Cult I love, so I got that. I love to play blackjack, so I got a gambling one. I like gorillas, and I got the heart. It kind of just feels like it works with the style of music I make. The fingers are, I got a moon because I'm a night owl, and the flame looks cool. It's my wedding finger. I got a crown, and then I'm Irish, so I got the shamrock. Then I just got this. I just got it like last week. They don't have super deep meanings to me. I respect people who have tattoos like that, but for me, I like the way they look on my skin, and I like the way the ink feels. I love being a performer, for sure. I always knew I wanted to be a performer in some way growing up, but I just think that feeling I get before I go out, those butterflies and that nervous energy you have all day before, that moment where you're sitting backstage and you got your bike in your hand and you're about to walk out, that feeling that just makes me feel alive, that's really why I love to do it so much and why it's so addicting. When that fades away, you're in the moment, everything is coming out so naturally and flowing. You can't describe the feeling, it's just so addicting. Well, I think a lot of people would compare me to Post Malone. I think that's valid because I love Post Malone. But I've always really loved Frank Ocean. Frank Ocean is a god to me, and I've listened to probably every single song of Frank Ocean, and there's still songs that I just don't understand, but it still will resonate with me. And he just has that inherent ability to there's not really many artists that I feel can do that kind of stuff, but Frank Ocean, Post Malone, I love. Obviously Eminem was like the one that got me into music. I've been listening to a lot of Bad Omens. I've been listening to Volbeat. I have a lot of different things that I listen to. I actually had a different stage name when I first started. I was trying to think of something. I'll tell you what, there is no harder thing than to try and come up with a cool name. It took me forever to even like scratch the surface on anything that I was happy with. How do you think of a cool name that is going to resonate with you for the rest of your life? If you're going to do this for a living, just think of it like that. I had one before, and I was like, all right, I'm Irish. So let me try and think of something that like translate from the Irish language into, it was called soul because it meant life or love or something like that. So I ran with that for a little bit. I don't like it anymore. So I started doing it by my real name, Seth, and it just didn't feel right for what I was trying to do. So it was like a few years ago that I decided to find a name, and I ended up just like going through a list of like my favorite songs and trying to find inspiration. There's a song by Black Bear called My Bad Love, and there's a song by Halsey called Badluv. So I was like, okay, bad love. And then I made it one word and changed up the spelling a little bit. And I was like, all right, bad love, that sounds cool. It perfectly describes my music in some sense. It's always about a heartbreak or something like that I'm writing about. So it made sense to me, and I'm happy with it. Mr. Ambridge, I went to Ambridge High School, and God, it was so bizarre thinking about it now, because that point in my life, it was a junior in high school. I wasn't shy, but I'd never done anything like that before. Nobody ever saw me as a kid who was a performer. It was a male beauty pageant almost. And I knew I had a talent portion. So I just saw that as an opportunity for me to do something different, like be a performer for like the first time in my life, really performing in front of the whole school. So I did it. I signed up for it, and it was the most fun I ever had in high school. I got to do a lot of different stuff and show off a lot of different things about me. I decided to write a song, a rap about my life growing up and the things I went through, and ended up doing a whole music video from Eminem, the When I'm Gone music video, where he's like speaking at an AA meeting, and he basically starts rapping the song. And that's kind of what I did. I set it up like that, and ended up going over really well. And that feeling, it was the same feeling I get when I go out for a show now. A feeling of being alive and feeling the crowd and seeing their response. I remember being on stage and just like, wow, like I really have to do this. This is what I want to do with my life. Not be in male beauty pageants every day, but I would like to be a performer and perform my music for people. That was it was honestly a huge turning point in my life. From that point on is when I started really getting serious about music. And shortly after that, I graduated high school and got myself a setup. It was like the worst setup ever. I got a cheap Amazon microphone, and I got my brother's old laptop. Started finding beats on YouTube and was recording and putting them on SoundCloud, and they were absolutely garbage and embarrassing and didn't do me any favors. But it was my starting point, and I just grew from that point on. I don't think people really understand just how little artists get paid for their music. I always think about this for 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and I had the success I have now back then. I wouldn't still have to work a side job serving tables. I don't know the exact number of what the percentage you get paid per stream is, but it's astronomically low. In some ways I understand it, because if you got paid 1 cent per stream, anybody could get on to these platforms and upload anything they want and just play it over and over again and start making a bunch of money quick. So in that sense, I get why it's set up the way it is. I don't think that's right if people could do that, but I think maybe the barrier to entry could be a little to get into music. That's the only way I could see stuff going better in terms of artist compensation to get paid more. But since the barrier to entry to music is so easy now, it's not like how it used to be. So until there's different classes, maybe when you're on Spotify and Apple Music and you have a certain audience level or a certain following, until there's like different classes of people getting paid different wages, essentially, it's really tough. There's a reason that it hasn't been figured out yet, and I don't know if I'm going to be the guy to do it, but hopefully it trends in the right direction. Never settle for doing anything other than what you want to do. Music, it's always a big risk to want to make it a full-time living or a career, and it's definitely not about money. If it was about money, I would have got a different job a long time ago. But I love it so much, and it means so much to me, and I'm so passionate about it that I make it work, and I work my ass off at it to one day I can be a full-time thriving artist. But I definitely have had many days where I've either been driving or just waking up and just very thankful that I know what I'm doing every day is something that I truly am passionate about and want to do. I've never been the guy to just like settle to do something I hate for a paycheck. There's people that have families and need to pay their bills, but I just think if you have something to work for that you really want to do, it's worth going after. And anybody who's not doing that is really selling themselves short. There was a lot of people that told me that I was, for lack of a better term, a dumbass for not just getting into music, but going all in with music and wanting to do it to the full capacity. And I said, I've always just had that natural urge to just say, no, I'm doing this and I'm going to do it until it works or until I'm dead. That's always been my philosophy with stuff.